Alright, what is up, you guys? I'm here with the pay-per-view ranking for Money in the Bank. And, I've said this many times. I prefer Money in the Bank to be at WrestleMania. And, I'm not the biggest fan of gimmick pay-per-views. But of all the gimmick pay-per-views, I think Money in the Bank has been the most consistent when it comes to quality. I don't think we've had a bad pay-per-view for Money in the Bank. Which is, that's a really good thing. But there's got to be one that's dead last, and I'm going to put Money in the Bank 2017 as the worst Money in the Bank pay-per-view, but it's not necessarily, a really bad pay-per-view. I'm not the biggest fan of this pay-per-view, but there are some good elements to it. I think you had a pretty good Money in the Bank ladder match, main event, and, some of the cons we have. The women's Money in the Bank ladder match, obviously, the whole Ellsworth, controversy. And Randy Orton and Jinder Mahal, no one really was a big fan of their rivalry. So overall, this is not the best pay-per-view, but it's definitely not, the worst of 2017. But I do think it's the weakest of the pay-per-view run for Money in the Bank. Next up, we have 2018, our first 4-hour Money in the Bank pay-per-view. And this one, I think we had a really good women's Money in the Bank ladder match. I was actually pretty impressed by that. You had a good match between Nakamura and AJ Styles, the last man standing match. And the men's Money in the Bank, honestly, was kind of disappointing in my opinion. I wasn't the biggest fan of how that one went. But we had a great cash-in from Alexa Bliss, with the Ronda Rousey match. So, overall, I'm not the biggest fan of this pay-per-view. It has some good elements. I just thought the men's Money in the Bank ladder match could have been a lot better. Next up, we have 2012. For this one of the best things we have here is CM Punk and Daniel Bryan's rivalry for the world title. Fantastic. And we had two Money in the Bank ladder matches, but I don't think really either of them exceeded expectations. If anything, I think they kind of played it safe when it comes to quality. Like, it didn't go too far out of its way to be that good, if that makes sense. And, Sheamus Del Rio for the world title. Nothing too exciting there. So, overall, I think this is, like, the perfect average pay-per-view. Like the, 2.5-star pay-per-view, So, very average, but, nothing too bad. Next up, we have 2010. I'm a huge fan of this pay-per-view, but when it comes to quality, I will admit it's not the best of the Money in the Bank pay-per-views. Definitely the worst cover. But, we had your first ever, the inaugural Money in the Bank pay-per-view. We had the Raw and SmackDown Money in the Bank ladder matches. And, this was during the Nexus storyline, so that obviously came into play during the main event. But we had Sheamus and John Cena steel cage match. You had Rey Mysterio and Jack Swagger, kind of an average world title match. And then Kane would just end up cashing in. And then we had Miz winning the Raw briefcase, which was really cool. Other than that, the undercard's really not that much. It's really just not special. You have the Divas, the women's titles, tag team titles. Nothing too special here, but I do enjoy this pay-per-view. Next up, we have 2014. Really cool cover, by the way. You had Seth Rollins winning the briefcase, and then John Cena winning the unified world titles there. And overall, you had some good tag team action. Stardust and Goldust. And this Money in the Bank ladder match, I thought it was good. I do like that Seth Rollins won. But overall, this was kind of an average pay-per-view once again. I do enjoy this one. I remember watching this one live years ago. So, overall, kind of playing it safe with the Money in the Bank ladder matches. Like, there wasn't that standout ladder match like we had in the later years. So, next up, we're going to put Money in the Bank 2013. I do like this pay-per-view a lot. We had the return of Rob Van Dam, which is what this one's kind of known for. You had John Cena versus Mark Henry with that great Mark Henry promo on the Raw building up to this. But we also have Del Rio and Dolph Ziggler, okay match, Chris Jericho and Ryback. But then we also have, your 2 Money in the Bank ladder matches. And I thought these ladder matches were pretty good. I think, the return of Rob Van Dam was really cool, like I said. And, I kind of wish Mark Henry and John Cena could have gone more. Because I thought that was a great rivalry. I loved Mark Henry's promo. It really got him over as a heel. So, again, this was probably an average to good pay-per-view for the year of 2013. Next up, we have 2015. I really like a lot of the elements of this pay-per-view. And kind of a strange cover just to have Dean Ambrose. But, on the back here, we have Sheamus winning the briefcase. I'm not a big Sheamus fan, but it was a good ladder match. And then we also had John Cena and Kevin Owens. Fantastic match. Obviously they had their match at the Elimination Chamber pay-per-view. And then they had this one again, which was easily equals the original. And we have a great main event ladder match for the world title. Seth Rollins and Dean Ambrose. So overall, I just really enjoyed this pay-per-view. This had a lot of good stuff on it. So, yeah, this was a great pay-per-view. Next up, we have 2016. This was so cool because you had all 3 of your Shield members as champions in a matter of 5 minutes. That's just such an epic story. So you had Dean Ambrose win the ladder match, which was a really good ladder match. You had John Cena and AJ Styles. Whenever they get in the ring, it's going to be good. Wasn't a big fan of the finish, but, it was just the first of, their 3 matches they had together. No, they had more, because they had one on SmackDown, too. So, you had a good main event with Seth Rollins and Roman Reigns. Obviously, Seth Rollins wins the title, and then you have Dean Ambrose cashing in. Overall, I just thought this was an epic pay-per-view. It really felt like a big deal at the time it was happening. So, you had just some great booking. You have all 3 members there. Fantastic. And then finally, this is no secret. The best Money in the Bank pay-per-view is 2011. By far, one of the most epic main events I've ever seen. This had that old school main event feel where you had no idea what was going to happen. Nowadays it's kind of hard to have surprises and have these really just intriguing main event storylines. And you had a great crowd. And the 2 Money in the Bank ladder matches were fantastic. I was a fan of both of them. And then, of course, we had Randy Orton and Christian continuing their rivalry. So, this pay-per-view is really well known for John Cena and CM Punk, but, I do want to emphasize this undercard was great. I thought you had some great stuff in here. So, yeah, just all around epic pay-per-view. Like I said, the crowd was nuts for this, and it was kind of surprising because B pay-per-views never really get this much attention, and this is one of the best pay-per-views of, the 2010s, or even the 2000s for that matter, the 21st century. So, I'd say this is one of the all-time great pay-per-views for sure. So, let me know what your ranking would be, and, definitely comment that. I'm interested in seeing what everyone else would put. So, for now, I hope you guys enjoyed. This has been the DVD Freak. Peace out.